Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this past week has been filled with even more news about upcoming Macs, iPhones, and other things as well, such as future products, and we'll talk more about iOS 14.3 and when to expect that in a little bit. Now, the first thing is sort of a service announcement, and if you have an iPhone 11 and you have issues with touch on the display, Apple's actually offering free replacements of the display depending on if it falls into that category and you have that problem. So if you have an iPhone 11 with a manufacturing date of November 2019 to May 2020, it may be eligible for a free replacement. And so I'll leave a link in the description. If you're having this issue with touch responsiveness on an iPhone 11, they may offer you a free replacement if it was manufactured within those dates. Of course, if you have Apple Care already and it's a problem, you can get it replaced either way, but they are offering that if you don't have it. Now, if you have an Apple Pro Display XDR, Apple updated the firmware last week. So if you have one of them and you weren't able to color calibrate, you'll now be able to do that. So they calibrate them from the factory, but every so often you'll want to calibrate them. And if you have one of their very expensive displays, you'll be able to now calibrate it after you get that firmware update. It will show up automatically and install itself once you agree to it. Also, to go along with the Pro Display XDR, a recent patent shows that Apple could be working on a double monitor stand for the Pro Display XDRs. So maybe Apple will come up with future monitors as well for this, but this stand, based off what they charge for the regular stand, could be as much as $2,000. Currently, the regular stand is $1,000. So it's very possible we could see a more than $2,000 stand at this point. Now, as far as iPhone 13, there's some news about that as well. Now, this is not a real iPhone 13. This was an iPhone 12 sort of prototype unit that's functioning running Android. I've shown it before. And according to Ice Universe on Twitter, it may have a smaller notch next year. And I don't mean smaller notch this way. I mean this way. So from top to bottom, it could be less prominent showing up on the display. I know a lot of people would welcome this, where they would be able to fit the components of Face ID in a smaller notch. I think that would be great, and it would show a progression of technology. And the notch has never really been an issue for me, but I know a lot of people don't like it. And if it's less prominent in the display area, of course, I would welcome that. It'd be great to see them fit it in the bezels as well. Also, next year, we should see better displays on the Pro models. So according to Ross Young, apparently they're going to switch to LTPO displays with 120 Hz ProMotion on the iPhone 13 Pro models only. So you would have that as an option or a pro feature like we do with the iPads Pro. So that would make sense that we would have a smoother display next year where it can ramp up to 120 Hz and bring it back down. And the problem with doing that this year, they weren't able to get it done, or maybe they weren't working on it. But color accuracy is key to Apple's displays, and it's kind of difficult to do the faster and slower and then manage the lighting and change everything else and keep it with good battery as well. And so Apple's trying to really refine that to make the displays better for next year. Now, also, the cameras will get updated next year. Apparently, Apple's going to keep the larger size. According to Ming-Chi Kuo, there's changes to cameras coming that will allow for better low light, even on the ultra-wide camera. So we may see that, as well as a periscope zoom camera. I've mentioned this before. We've seen this with Samsung phones where it actually has a mirror here, and then it zooms back and forth with a little motor in the camera module itself to give you a clear zoom, possibly up to 10x optical zoom, which would be really nice. We've seen that on the S20 Ultras and the Note 20 Ultras, so it'd be great to have that in the iPhone as well. Now, as far as iOS updates, Apple continually works on accessibility features to make the iPhone more accessible to those that have different needs. And so on Apple's website, if you go to their main website, go back to apple.com, you can see that accessibility is front and center right now. So they've updated it. It's got built-in features that work the way you do, and they really focus on everything they offer now. Now, that doesn't mean they can't make improvements, but they're showing what they have right now for everything from larger text to back tap to hearing and more. So you can see all of the different current accessibility features, learn about how they work, and it's just something that Apple's focusing on and showcasing. And I think it's great for those that need it to make this a front and center feature, because some people need it, some don't, but those that do really appreciate these features. And I get emails from people all the time asking what they're doing to improve it. So seeing Apple take a focus on this is a great thing. Now, on last Friday, Apple confirmed a new feature if you're using Apple subscriptions. So maybe you buy an app, you subscribe to something, you buy an in-app purchase, you can now share this with a family member. So if you have family sharing turned on, if you go into settings, then you tap on your name. Once you tap on subscriptions, you'll have a new option on the top that says share new subscriptions. Eligible subscriptions will automatically be shared with your family. So that's nice to see them do something like that, and it's great to have them include that so that now in-app purchases and subscriptions, such things like different movie services or anything else, will be shared across devices. Now, with iOS 14.2, there's quite a few people that have mentioned severe battery drain. This seems to be something that's become more prominent more recently, so it was fine for a while, but more are reporting severe battery drain with iOS 14.2, and then also volume lowering issues. And so volume seems to be going down. If you're connecting your iPhone to your AirPods, for example, there's a new feature that actually recognizes if the volume's too loud and brings it down if you turn that option on to help your hearing. Now, some people are not seeing the option to turn it off, and when connecting to a car, for example, the volume's dropping down. So that's a major annoyance for some. And then also other people are seeing additional problems such as 5G dropping on the iPhone 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max series, or any of the iPhone 12 series. So that's an issue for some. Thankfully, I haven't really seen too much of that. I did see the volume dropping, but you can just turn that off if you have the option. But if you don't, of course, that's going to be a problem. So all of that is said to say that I think iOS 14.3 is coming soon. Now, depending on what you look at with previous years, iOS 13.3 released the same week last year. So it actually released on the 10th last year of December. Now, that means we could see an update this week, that soon, although we could see another beta, because with 13.3, we had 4 betas. So we could see a release candidate and then a final later this week, or we could see something else a little bit later. So it's kind of interesting to see what Apple's doing with this. But as far as updates, we could see something very soon, or we could see it the following week. However, in previous years, we haven't really seen anything in the last 3 weeks of December. So this week seems to be primed for that, along with whatever Apple is releasing as far as a December surprise. There's quite a few leaks saying Apple's got something in store for us as a December surprise, and whether or not that's hardware or not is hard to say, as there's conflicting information about leaks of a potential Apple TV, or maybe even AirTags, or nothing else. So it's kind of interesting to see Apple doing odd hardware releases late this year, but it's possible, I suppose, but it could be something just software related, along with maybe tvOS 14.3 and Apple Fitness Plus. So a couple different updates with that. I don't think we'll see a macOS update right away, but it's possible, but we're pretty early on in those betas. So I would expect a macOS update a little bit later. But with iOS 14.3, I would expect a couple different features. For example, we already know that it has Apple Pro RAW, so you'll have that option if you have an iPhone 12 Pro or 12 Pro Max. Along with that, you'll have a new sound recognition, sound that it can recognize, and accessibility, as well as new search engine options, and I'm sure quite a few bug fixes as well. And as soon as that's out, I'll keep you up to date and, of course, keep you informed as to what's in that particular update. So I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully we'll see it this week. Now, as far as Mac lineups, well, there's something I wanted to show you before we talk about what's coming in the future. This is something from the past, and it was released by Donglebook Pro on Twitter. It's a clear Mac, and this is a Mac that they used in testing, maybe to show airflow through the case, maybe for other things. But you can see here that it's a clear version of the Mac, and it's just kind of interesting to see what Apple has worked on in the past. And it's a prototype they never released, but with a clear case, so it's pretty interesting. Now, a recent patent shows that Apple is researching new finishes for upcoming MacBooks. Now, this is a space gray MacBook. It's an M1 MacBook Pro, and in the future, we could see a light-absorbing color, a black light-absorbing color, and in the past, we've had white and black as an option for MacBooks, and I would love to see a matte black MacBook in the future, but maybe a Vanta black MacBook. That means it absorbs light instead of reflects light, so it almost looks like you're holding nothing. You'd be holding a void of black if they do it right. So that could be kind of interesting to see what they have. BMW did a prototype Vanta black BMW, and it's interesting. You can't see it really well, and of course you wouldn't want that on the road, but it was kind of interesting to see what that could look like. So a Vanta Black, maybe something light-absorbing finish on a MacBook would be really interesting. Now, we know Apple is continuing to work on upcoming Macs with their new silicon that they're putting into those. The M1 MacBooks are incredible. This is an M1 MacBook Pro 13-inch, and it's just incredibly responsive and fast. But apparently, they're going to be doing something far more ambitious in 2020 with some of their other products. So according to Mark Gurman at Bloomberg, the next M1-based chips will come in 2020, of course, as we would expect, but have up to 32 cores of performance, high-performance cores. This is an 8-core with 4 high-performance cores. So I can't imagine how fast a 32 high-performance core MacBook would be. In the MacBook Pro, maybe a Mac Pro or an iMac, I can't wait to see what they have, along with new 16 or 32 core graphics chips to go along with those. So not only could we have a CPU with that much power, but a GPU as well. And to see what Apple can do with that, with editing a video, maybe we'll get to the point where we import a video, edit the video, hit export, and it's done. It would be incredible to see something that fast, but we'll have to wait and see. Of course, it would be able to play games and do anything you'd want with that amount of power. Now, to go along with that, we may see a half-size Mac Pro or a smaller Mac Pro in the future, along with a 64 to 128 core graphics chip. So that would be another thing that's just kind of mind-blowing. These M1 MacBooks are so fast already. To see something with 64 cores or 128 cores would just be unbelievable. So I can't wait to see what Apple has for that. Now, according to Ming-Chi Kuo, we'll see new mini LED products coming in 2021. We've talked about this for a while. There's been a lot of rumors that Apple's going to switch away from their LED backlights to mini LED, which would be more power efficient, potentially brighter, allow for deeper blacks with all sorts of different display technology, which would be really nice to see in the future. And he expects 6 new mini LED updates. So that means everything from the MacBook lineup to the iPads and maybe even iPhones. We'll have to wait and see if they're going to do another LCD iPhone, but I doubt that. But as far as that goes, he also said to expect a 14.1-inch MacBook Pro. We've heard about that for a while. 16-inch MacBook Pro and a 27-inch iMac redesigned with mini LED. And I would expect that in the future, and that seems to make sense. Now, finally, AirPods are going to get a redesign, it looks like. There's some prototypes that were leaked by 52 Audio. So these are the AirPods Pro, but it looks like the next generation AirPods 3 won't have the noise cancellation and sealing in your ear, but they'll have a redesign as opposed to EarPods. So it looks like we could see those in early 2021. And so I'm looking forward to an updated AirPods. Of course, as soon as all of these things come out, I'll be sure to cover them. And if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.